Smart 24, driving business.
The taxes really is hindering our growth prospects, because I was last week in Kenya. You find that we are losing 20% of our investment because of unpredictable tax environment. And I'm happy that the commissioners are here. We need to double our effort in terms of fast-tracking tax harmonization. The second aspect is transport and logistics, which has also been highlighted as a key constraints. As we move towards regional value chain, we need to ensure that the transport and logistics costs is brought to a remarkable. We need to reduce the cost of transport and logistics. The third aspect is related to access to trade finance. SMEs, especially youth and women, who are very entrepreneurial, who are doing very well, are constrained by access to affordable capital. So we need to promote venture capital funds. The last aspect is bridging the gap between academia as well as industry. The CEOs surveyed across EAC the issues of skills that are required for competitiveness and productivity has been one of the hindrances for our business competitiveness. So in closing, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished guests, partners such as Afrexim Bank, GIZ, RSM, Eastern Africa, Madivani Group, Standard Chartered Bank, Park Capital, Siatini Uganda, PwC, Uganda Investment Promotion Agency. I've seen the Vice Chair, PSFU, Karibu Sana, PSFU, our host, UMA, Uganda National Chamber of Commerce Industry, our exhibitors, innovators present, organizers, and the media fraternity. So with that, I bid a warm welcome to each of you to this summit and say karibu sana and enjoy your stay in this beautiful country, the Pearl of Africa. Asanteni sana. God bless you all.
This is one of the languages I am closely associated to, in which they would like me to say Urakoze Chana Chana. Mr. Stephen Asimwe is here, and he's the Chief Executive Officer, Private Sector Foundation, Uganda, and he says he's going to be very brief.
Thank you, John. A very warm welcome to our Right Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for East Africa and Community Affairs. For the record, they say that besides every great person, there is someone who went to their school. So I'm an alumni of the same school as the Right Honourable, but I speak better Lusoga than her. So whenever we're in the convenience of a private area, I don't speak English. Sangairi no kona mama. You can see I'm very good. All protocol observed because of time. A very warm welcome to the Pearl of Africa. Stephen Asimwe is my name. I'm the CEO of the Private Sector Foundation of Uganda. I would like in a very special way to request the private sector of Uganda to stand up so that you clap for our guests who have come today. Uganda's private sector, please stand and welcome our guests in a special way. A bit harder, like someone who has eaten matoke. Thank you very much. You may be seated. That's how we honor our guests who have joined us. And thank you, Mr. Kalisa, for organizing a fantastic event. Quickly, because of time, I also join my voice to welcome all the private sector players, but also in a special way to underscore special recognition for our sister, Deputy Secretary General Annette Semwemba. Congratulations. She used to work for Private Sector Foundation. So once you work for PSFU, you go higher. So you watch my space, might go there soon. Also in a special way to welcome Mr. John Olanga to the Council of CEOs of Private Sector. He's our new CEO for TPSF, and welcome to the club. I am the treasurer, so you pay me some money. I want also in a special way to acknowledge my vice chair, who's standing in for the chair of the Private Sector Foundation, Madam Sarah Kajingo. And please extend you to come and sit at the high table, if you don't mind. We at Private Sector Foundation are excited, and together with the private sector of Uganda, to welcome you to the Pearl of Africa. We are in very strong support of policy, advocacy, business development services, and also partnerships. So we partner strongly with the EFBC, and Mr. Kalisa and I are on phone every week because we are the focal point for business in East Africa. But we also work closely with the COMESA, and now we are strong on the Africa Free Continental Trade Area. The East African community is perhaps the fastest growing and most robust regional grouping. And we're excited that in this room we are going to put our heads together to ostensibly discuss 4 strategic areas, and I'll be quick on that. The first is the need, Right Honorable, to harness human capital. East Africa right now is proud to announce over 100 universities, both private and public. We have a young population, which is now over 60% under the age of 35. Very creative, very innovative, and I think it's time to harness that element. We have very good systems, we have good structures. The private sector in this room, Right Honorable, comprises of the engines of growth. We pay the highest number of taxes, we employ the highest number of people, we are the biggest movers of infrastructure and logistics, we finance the entire system, and from our taxes, government spend budgets in national budget framework papers every year. It's critical that in this meeting we can come together to a middle point to see how we conjure our strategic efforts towards that area. The second thing that we have as a region is both natural and other resources. So we are home to some of the biggest reserves of gold, of silver, of strategic mineral reserves, extractives, oil, gas, and suddenly everybody is interested in this region. It's important that we can be able to harness that in a manner that will then ensure that our people get the best benefit out of that. The third issue we want to discuss, and my brother JB touched on it, was the element of technology. The need for us to harness the new technological interventions, faster internet, affordable internet, to ensure that our young people can be able to create new technologies that will spur and facilitate this opportunity. But lastly is the element of entrepreneurship and business development services. It's critical that in this meeting we come up with clear measures and ways and means of ensuring that we get this opportunity right. Like JB said, private sector is challenged by especially high taxation levels, poor infrastructure in many places, non-tariff barriers, and we think that this should be able to come at a middle ground. I hope that you can touch on it. As I conclude, because of time, I know there are many speakers today. Mine is to call upon our brothers and sisters from the different private sector entities to come together to ensure that we take our critical strategic objectives to the leaderships at the summit levels. And of course, I can't go without inviting you to the beautiful countryside. We are a few kilometers away from the equator. We have some of the most magnificent and beautiful places. Kampala's nightlife is unbeatable. They say Ugandans and people in Kampala never go to sleep. But more importantly, to invite you to the wonderful food, cuisine, the heritage sites. Where we are right now, ladies and gentlemen, was the epicenter of the Uganda matters. The first matter was mattered a few kilometers from here, and there is a basilica where you can go and visit. But I want to interest you in a small story about Ugandans. Now, in Uganda, we have the northern part, the east and west, central, and the southern part. Research has shown that people from northern Uganda, when they are dancing, they dance with the northern parts of their head. So they tend to concentrate on the head, which is the northern part. The people from eastern and western Uganda, the Bakonjo, like to use their western and eastern parts to shake their bodies. The people in central Uganda use the central part of their bodies to shake their bodies. And for us from the south and southwest, we use the southern part of our feet. If anybody would like to contest that, you should go outside there and see how those people are doing their job. And welcome to the Pearl of Africa. Karibu sana. Thank you very much.
The next speaker, Lady Fiona Wall, has interests in public relations and has gone up to the top of that. She's a Ugandan lawyer and has led the association of those in this country and is a regular on talk shows in this country. I have interviewed her several times and I can confidently say she's exceptionally brilliant, and you're going to find out in a few seconds.
Thank you. Right Honorable Rebecca Alitwala Kadaga, First Premier of the Republic of Uganda and Minister for East African Community Affairs, Honorable Ambassador Ezekiel Nibigira, Chair of the East African Council of Ministers and Minister for East African Community Affairs, Youth, Culture and Sports, Republic of Burundi. Allow me to recognize all the protocol. They're very eminent people in this room, and Mr. Kasumba is very tight with his time. My name is Fiona Wall. I'm a director of the East African Business Council, and I'm here representing the Vice Chairperson of the East African Business Council, Mr. Simon Kaheru, Uganda chapter. As we embark on this significant occasion, I would like to warmly welcome you to the Republic of Uganda and to state that my big brother, Stephen, has done the Pearl of Africa justice. One of our directors has been asking me that you don't have any pearls in Uganda. Why do you call yourselves the Pearl? Well, most of the names that we give our countries came from some of the people who discovered us in colonial times. And we know that Winston Churchill wrote a whole epitaph about how Uganda is indeed the Pearl of Africa. So we don't have to have pearls, we are the Pearl. I'd like to extend great thanks to our chief guest, the Honorable Right Honorable. I want to say that this journey for this summit began many months ago in her office. I want to thank you so much that when we came to you and asked for your support, you were very willing, and we all know her as a hands-on leader. Our guests, this year the East African Business Council is making 25 years in existence. And as we do this, I would like to recognize our directors, Mr. Vice Chair, if you'll allow me. We have Mr. Jas Bedi, Vice Chair from Kenya. Of course, our Vice Chair, Mr. Dennis Kalera is here. We have Ms. Angelina Ngalula, the chairperson, who is not here, but I'd like to recognize Mr. Antoine Muzaneza, Ms. Amelie Ningaza, Mr. Delphine Kaza, Mr. Ali Amour, Mr. Sinje Rabogo, Stuart Mwesigwa, Mr. Emmanuel Mkusi, and Mr. Bosco Rusagara. Those are our board directors for the East African Business Council. This year, our guests, as we celebrate 25 years, we also want to recognize the contributions of our founding chairpersons. And these included Ambassador Juma Mapachu. We also had Mr. Manu Chandaria from Kenya, and we recognize in his absence the late Professor James Mulwana. And we know how instrumental all these people were in building the private sector in Uganda. At the heart of our discussion during this conference is going to be the private sector, a vibrant force that propels our economies forward. The entrepreneurs and business leaders within our region are the architects of innovation, the engines of trade, and the pioneers of investment. Today, as we recognize and celebrate their achievements, we also pledge to continue fostering an environment that fuels their growth and success. Our vision aligns with that of the East African community, and I want to thank them for their contribution to this conference, aiming for shared growth and prosperity through the dynamic private sector engagement. In collaboration with justice departments, we strive for a harmonized legal framework and efficient dispute resolution. Our honorable guest, one of the challenges that we have in the region is dispute resolution, with over 8 trillion stuck in just Ugandan commercial courts alone. We look forward to embracing alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, as we know that countries like Singapore that were at our financial economic levels in the 60s when we were getting our independence are now, first world giants. And one of the key things they've resolved is dispute resolution. Dispute resolution can stand as a roadblock to economic growth, and it's one of the challenges that we're facing. By synergizing the East African Business Council and Justice Departments, we aim to instill investor confidence and ensure a predictable and secure business environment. Incorporating alternative dispute resolution, as I said, I cannot emphasize this enough. We also have challenges at the East African Court of Justice because right now the limitation period is 3 months, and we all know what it costs when there are trade issues and disputes between nations. We cannot have that being the limitation period. So some of these amendments need to happen within the law, within our judicial processes, in order to ensure that there is economic justice. I would like to commend the Council of Ministers, led by yourself, our chairperson, as the policy body of the East African community, for their exemplary policy direction and unwavering dedication to creating an enabling business environment. Their commitment has been evident in the adoption of resolutions from our previous summit, which include the ratification of the African Free Continental Trade Area, the finalization of the East African Common External Tariff, and the inclusion of the Democratic Republic of Congo into the East African community. I would like to request that we recognize our brothers from Congo, the directors of the industry, the captains of industry are in the room. Maybe they can stand up so we can give them a warm welcome officially, since this is the second summit. Oh, they were right there. Yes. Our legislative efforts have played an instrumental role in advancing our growth and integration agenda, and I would like to acknowledge the transformative laws and regulations that have been introduced. The East African Custom and Trade Facilitation Law, we have the Investment Promotion and Protection Acts, the e-commerce and digital trade regulations, and I want to boast that the East African community is currently leading in Africa when it comes to legislation in technology. And one of the things we also recognize is the progress on gender inclusion. And as we may have it, as luck may have it, this week we are also celebrating 20 years of the Maputo Protocol, which emphasizes economic justice across gender. As we celebrate our accomplishments, we should also recognize the challenges, and we see that collaboration remains our strongest pillar for progress. By synergizing our efforts of the East African Business Council, we would want to work with everybody and the private sector, but also governments, to ensure that we have the requisite infrastructure. Since we brought on Congo, there's been some geographical challenges that the Republic of Uganda is addressing through the roads. We want to thank you for that. But there's a lot that we have to do as a community when it comes to enabling infrastructure for business to really go regional. I'd like to extend our gratitude to the East African Community Secretariat and thank our esteemed partners and sponsors. We should give them all a big hand clap. These include the Private Sector Foundation Uganda, which is a focal point, Uganda Manufacturers Association, Uganda Investment Authority, AfriExim Bank, the GIZ, RSM East Africa, Medvani Group, Standard Chartered Bank, PSC Capital, Siatini, and PwC. We have other sponsors in the room, and we would not have done this without you. The dedicated teams from these institutions, along with the host government, thank you, Honourable Minister, have put in tremendous effort to lay the foundation for what promises to be a successful summit. We cannot thank you enough, our guests, because a feast is nothing without the guests. Thank you very much. Please clap for yourselves for coming and honouring our invitation. In conclusion, I want to extend my sincere gratitude to the Republic of Uganda, the Government of the Republic of Uganda, for its visionary leadership and unwavering commitment to regional economic integration. The East African Business Council embodies our collective aspirations as a private sector, and as representatives of our nations, let us pledge to further its mission. Together we possess the collective power to craft a vibrant and prosperous East African business landscape, one that nurtures commerce, drives innovation, promotes inclusivity, and cultivates shared prosperity for God and the country.
There are people who speak and you can immediately tell that they work for the United Nations. Unless, of course, they choose not to go that far. Let he who hears know what the Spirit tells the audience. You know, God speaks through the prophets. I would like to invite Mr. Dennis Carrera, Vice Chairperson, East African Business Council. But before I do, there is no water on the tables, and the reason is simple, that in East Africa we've started to understand the value of reducing on the usage of plastic and going full digital. So if you look through the side, there is water and there are glasses. That also doubles as your morning exercise. So if you feel like you want to drink some water, feel free to make a few steps towards the end of the room, take some water and come back to where you're seated. As you do that, you can stretch as well and then come back. Now, Mr. Dennis Carrera is our next speaker, and he is very well. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. The first Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for East African Community Affairs of Uganda, the Deputy Secretary General of the East African Community, Excellencies Ambassadors, Directors at the EABC, Private Sector Foundations, Captains of Industry, all protocol observed. I'm not so good at protocol, although I'm a diplomat. It's a bit ironical, but I realized the set of protocol is a speech alone. It's the first part of the speech, so in the interest of time, I want to cut it short. But I want you to recognize that I recognize each one of you in your powerful capacities, private and public. You're all recognized. Good morning once again. Officially, I have a speech, and it is 5 pages. Madam First Deputy Prime Minister, if I do the 5-page speech, this might take half of the time that we have this morning. So I will consolidated my speech into 4 bullet points. I think I was a good student of summary back in the days. I welcome each one of you to this summit, which we last had in 2018 in Arusha, and since that we have had a few challenges to organize another one. Our intention had been to have a summit every year. Every end of the year we have a summit in one of the countries, because we thought we had business to discuss. We thought we had things to do. Now, 2019 we were not able to do that. 2020 we had COVID. 2021 same situation. Post that, we are not able to organize ourselves. So since 2018, this is the next summit, East African Business Summit. And so I want to congratulate all of you who are here and thank the organizers, the secretariat, the different directors of EABC and in the different countries, private sector bodies in the different countries who have worked hard to make sure this happens. Now, I have come to terms with a certain situation that I want to share with you. And it was with a sense of worry. And I want you to rescue me from carrying a sense of worry every time. As East Africans, are we not going to be experts of talking? Madam Deputy Prime Minister, I'm worried that we shall be experts of talking. We have talked. We are so good at speaking. Look at our panels. We are so good at speaking. So, but how much have we done? How have we transformed talking into action? This is my key question as your focal point. I'm the focal point for the ACFTA within East African Business Council. What are we doing? Tunafanya nini? Tumefanya vingapi? How far are we in implementation of trade? If we want to be champions at talking, I will request that the First Deputy Prime Minister gives awards today for good speakers. There are good speakers in this room, I'm telling you, very good speakers. But let me ask, how many awards are we going to give for doers? Put aside the speakers, the doers. How many of us have done? 2018, the ACFTA agreement was signed. Here we are, 2023. May I ask at random, how many companies are trading across the continent? By show of hands. How many have successfully taken goods from Uganda to the entire African continent? Hands up. Right. How many from Burundi have exported goods to the continent? How many from Rwanda have exported goods to the continent? I saw one this morning. She's there. Right. How many from Kenya have exported goods to the continent under ACFTA? One. So, Madam Deputy Prime Minister, from 2018, when the agreement was signed, to 2023, only 2 people in the room have made use of the facility of ACFTA. And this is why I worry that we might become good talkers and good speakers, but not good doers. My call this morning, ladies and gentlemen, is to ask that can we be good doers than good talkers? Business is about doing. Business is not about talking. So that's my point number one. Number two, back to East Africa, recognizing that charity begins at home. Have we improved trading with each other? Because this has been our journey, this has been our message, this has been our advocacy. As the East African Business Council, our advocacy has been, can we trade strongly with ourselves before we even tell West Africa, Northern Africa, and the Horn of Africa, before we tell them, before we engage them in trade? How much have we improved in trading with each other? Have we? For the private sector foundations of different countries, within East Africa, have we improved trading with each other? Has the volumes increased? Are the revenues increasing? I visited the Katuna border last week, purposely to see how much is happening before I come for this summit. And my realization was, whereas I met a couple of trucks heading for Kigali, with a bit of indiscipline, by the way, still happening at the border, poor parking, a bit of delays, we still have challenges at borders. But I did not meet any container headed for West Africa or for Northern Africa. Zero. At the border in Katuna, I counted over 70 containers. None had a destination beyond Congo. Nobody was intending to load the aircraft in Kigali to go to Morocco, to deliver in Nigeria, to nobody. And so I am wondering, what are we doing with this ACFTA opportunity? The tools are ready, agreements have been signed, we are busy teaching players in the industry what to do with it. We are teaching women, we are teaching the youth, we are teaching as EABC, GIZ is financing. By the way, I'm sorry I forgot to recognize you, GIZ. Thank you very much for the work you keep doing with us. We recognize it. When I attended, the last time I attended an European business summit like this one, it had over 1,000 delegates. In the East African community today, I can see, counting offhand, we are about 300 or so. What does this mean? That the Europeans understand business better than us, or we don't even know how to copy how to do business? So why that GIZ has to finance you to do your business better? Can you not finance yourselves? But I'm sure there's a bit of funding within colleagues from the room. But let us, I think, take advantage of the opportunity of a CFTA and start trading, ladies and gentlemen. The idea of talking, we have talked. Lakini, let's meet to discuss business and let's make business happen. We have discussed logistics. We need to have logistics done. Well, we need infrastructure in place. But even before all that, there's at least the baseline where we can start. We have an aircraft today in East Africa, or a couple of aircrafts, which are ready to carry cargo to across the continent. We have a tax reduction arrangement in place. Later in the panels, you'll hear from the exporter of coffee from Rwanda to Ghana. But how many of us want to get into speed and get this done? So mine was just a call. I'll be discussing later the other deeper aspects of how to implement our mission in SFTA. But my call is, how much more are we doing within East Africa? Because let me give you a snapshot of what the opportunities could be. There is an aircraft in Kigali dedicated for cargo from East Africa to anywhere. It has secured landing in anywhere on the continent. It has reduced rates. It has specific rates for items under ACFTA. When you have cargo and it is named ACFTA, that aircraft gives you a discount. The taxation is reduced. Currently under ACFTA, I think we pay only 7% of tax, which will reduce significantly from 8 to 7% to 5% to 2%, and ultimately duty-free completely. Are we taking care of this? Are our populations aware of this? Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I want to make this information available again and free information. There is the availability of the ACFTA Adjustment Fund, which was launched in Kigali sometime earlier this year. This fund is meant to facilitate trade for those who have projects under ACFTA. I think my brother John Bosco from the PAP system will talk about it later. This fund is sitting in Kigali. It is headquartered in Kigali, and it is supposed to be availed to all of you who wish to trade under ACFTA. So you need to apply to make use of this fund. The last information we got was it was about $10 billion, and it is for our use as a region. Can we prepare our projects? Can we approach the office in Kigali? Can we make good use of this money so that we see things happening? With those few remarks, ladies and gentlemen, my five-page speech is done. I think I've condensed it properly to 4 bullet points. I thank you very much, and I look forward to very active engagement in this summit. And beyond this, I would expect to see action. Thank you very much.
I think many of you agree with me that if Mr. Carrera had not been a diplomat, he would have made a fantastic news anchor. I can imagine that voice on radio or television anchoring the news. It would make for very interesting listening. Our next speaker is Mr. Ashif Kasam, who is he here? Yes, he is here. They say in Swahili, namaste.
Good morning, everyone. Right Honorable Rebecca Gilada, First Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Ambassador, Minister of East African Community Affairs, all protocols observed. RSM is really proud to be associated with this East African Business Investment Summit 2023 as one of the key sponsors. In terms of East African community and in terms of African trade, I think the challenge that we have is the creation of an enabling environment through a government public-private partnership that actually brings a dedicated regional integrated coordination. And that is the key challenge that is facing all of us. We all have our own policies as individual countries. We are very focused on our individual fiscal and monetary policies to fund our budgets. And the key challenge that we are not talking about is the fiscal indiscipline. And as long as we have fiscal indiscipline within each country, then individual taxes or countrywide taxes become key ways of funding that. But the bigger challenge is now moving away from what we used to call commonwealth to uncommon debt. And this uncommon debt is chewing a lot of the resources that would need to go to development, because the debt that we are getting is not utilized fully and efficiently for the purposes that it was acquired for. And I think as private sector, if you're really going to take action, then that is an area that we need to work together, is that it's only through fiscal consolidation and fiscal discipline that we will be able to rationalize the tax structures across the various countries. And that's one of the key things that we probably need to discuss over the next 2 days, is how to coordinate that approach with the government. Thank you. Welcome to this event, and I hope you have fruitful deliberations over the next 2 days.
Mr. Karela, you can tell that Mr. Kassam took you very literally on matters of speaking and speeches. Lady Sarah Kajingo is representing Mr. Humphrey Mzee, the chairperson of Private Sector Foundation Uganda, and she's our next speaker.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The first Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for East African Community Affairs, Right Honorable Rebecca Kadaga, the Chair of the EAC Council of Ministers and Minister of East African Community Affairs, the Honorable Deputy Secretary General, the leadership of the EABC, colleagues at the board of the Private Sector Foundation. I see the Honorable Victoria Sechtoliko here. Please stand up. A member, our esteemed member of the Advisory Council of PSFU, Professor Magich Gozi, Mr. Badran Tege, who represents the ICT development partners, our brother, the CEO of EABC, Mr. Karisa, captains of business, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Right Honorable, it's our pleasure to welcome our brothers from the region to the Pearl of Africa, and we look forward to partnerships and collaborations. I take this opportunity to thank our partners, as have already been stated because of time by the previous speakers. Thank you very much for making this summit possible. And I extend apologies from our chairman, Humphrey Mzee, who is away on a business engagement, but he wishes you a productive summit. Right Honorable, as you know, we have partnered with government of the Republic of Uganda on integration of markets and to ensure that our products penetrate regional markets and beyond. Recently, we were pleased to partner with UCDA, Uganda Coffee Development Authority, and ICAO on the Coffee Summit, at which a declaration was signed by 25 countries of Africa who produce coffee, with a view to building value chains and eventually stop trade in raw materials, add value and stop donating to the rest of the world. We look to our colleagues, our brothers and sisters in the region to supporting us, ensuring that the African Union adopts coffee as a strategic commodity. We also thank government through you, Right Honorable, for your support, and especially you for maintaining an open door policy to the private sector and for adopting a raft of measures when it mattered the most during COVID, especially deferral of payment of taxes, restructuring of loans, and for adopting our proposals to the budget. So we are set, we are readying businesses to take advantage of the Continental Free Trade Area, but because of time, again, Right Honorable, as we speak, and the previous speaker has spoken to the need to begin doing, we face non-tariff barriers, and as the leadership of the Private Sector Foundation, whenever our products are blocked by our brothers around the region, we face lots of pressure from the business community. A section of our business community is beginning to pile pressure to to say that maybe it's about time for us to develop some teeth and bite and deploy reciprocity, which does not make sense at all. So it would not do good for Ugandan businesses to start advocating for reciprocity in blocking products of our brothers and sisters. But we are at the receiving end. There is also a growing voice among the business community that perhaps it's about time to integrate by litigation, to ensure that our leaders are held accountable for the protocols that they ratified, freedom of movement of goods, because whenever our products are blocked, the impact, the losses are very, very huge. So our prayer today is that this summit determines whether protectionism makes business sense, and it is our view that it doesn't. We need to recommit ourselves to integration and to ensuring the freedom of movement of persons and goods within the region, unfettered access of all our products, and that way we shall guarantee the prosperity of all the peoples of East Africa. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I wish you a productive summit.
I apologize for my shaky German, and because my German is shaky, I am not in the mood to murder a name, because it's clearly in German. Our next speaker is from the German Development Corporation, GIZ, and he's Mr. Michael K. Squared. The other two Ks are German names, and I'm asking him by the mercies of God to pronounce them for me when he gets here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Michael K. Squared.
My name is Michael Klingler. Cheers. Honorable guest, Deputy Prime Minister of Uganda and Minister of East African Community Affairs, Republic of Uganda. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Try to keep myself short. I'm deeply honored to represent GIZ and the German Development Corporation at this pivotal East African Business and Investment Summit under the theme Private Sector-Driven Regional Integration of Increased Intra-African Trade and Investment. In 2019, with the support of GIZ, the East African Business Council successfully organized a summit that fostered meaningful dialogues between key stakeholders. We witnessed the signing of vital resolutions that spotlighted the need for policy enhancements to amplify trade and investment in East Africa. It brings up immense joy to once again collaborate as a premium partner for this summit. And we extend our heartfelt appreciation to the government of Uganda for their gracious hospitality. The close and successful relationship between Germany and Uganda is not new. Our development cooperation dates back to 1964, and next year we will celebrate 60 years of this successful collaboration. Together we have worked on renewable energy, rural development, food security, water supply and sanitation, as well as good governance and business. At GIZ, we champion a vibrant private sector across East Africa, recognizing its profound influence in shaping sustainable national economies. Through our initiatives, we aspire to harmonize the innovative spirit of the private sector with the vast resources and experience of international cooperation. This synergistic approach fosters job growth, technology transfers, and the development of new markets. Acknowledging that small and medium-sized enterprises form the backbone of the East African community businesses ecosystem, we emphasize their role in providing employment and boosting income for EAC citizens. Furthermore, a thriving private sector can contribute significantly to public revenues, facilitating the enhancement of public services and investments. The East African Community Treaty underscores the significance of an empowered private sector, reaffirming its role as a cornerstone for the community's prosperity. With the treaty accentuating a people-centered, market-driven economy, it serves as a beacon encouraging the diverse EAC private sector to engage actively in the integration process. Our commitment extends to supporting the private sector in policy creation, ensuring they harness the opportunities offered by regional integration and intra-EAC trade and investment. The inauguration of the African Continental Free Trade Area presents a monumental chance for the private sector to expand intra-African trade beyond conventional borders. Today, as the global economic landscape shifts, nations are called upon to identify their unique strengths. At GSZ, our vision encapsulates the potential unlocked by connecting over 1.3 billion individuals across Africa through the African Continental Free Trade Area. However, with intra-African trade comprising less than 20% of the continent's total trade volume, there remains much to be achieved. Germany proudly stands as a fervent supporter of regional economic integration at both REC and African Continental Free Trade Area levels. Our mission is multifaceted. Educate and empower the private sector regarding African Continental Free Trade Area's vast prospects. Facilitate their participation in the African Continental Free Trade Area implementation at national and regional scales. Advocate for streamlined administrative procedures and simplified trade frameworks. Promote inclusive trade under the African Continental Free Trade Area and foster investments that hold promises for Africa's regional value chains. Esteemed attendees, as we explore diverse topics from the digital economy to climate-smart agriculture, we recognize that intricate nature of the challenges. Yet our collective dedication towards crafting solutions remains steadfast. In closing, our profound gratitude goes to the African Business Council and the East African Community Secretariat for orchestrating this summit. We are optimistic that the insights garnered will mold the regional and continental trade landscape. Rest assured, GSZ will continually support both the private sector and the East African community in these endeavors. Thank you so much.
Right Honourable, as you may well know, there's a big distinction between Sababi and Sebabi. Our next speaker is not Sababi, he is Sebabi, and I wanted to make that be very known. Sebabi would literally mean that there has been a confirmation that the particular individual named that way cannot pass the bare minimum of handsome. But Sebabi literally means the opposite of that, that the person named that by their parents was named after they had confirmed that they want only a very beautiful baby boy, but they will be a very handsome man. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mr. John Bosco Sebabi, who is the Deputy CEO of Pan-African Payments and Settlement Systems. That confirmation will be seen soon on the screen.
I think the MC is going to pay in terms of compensating me with time. So MC, mine is going to be a little longer because as to get the guest of honor, it it gets longer. Right Honorable Rebecca Aditwara Kadaga, First Deputy Prime Minister of the Republic of Uganda and Minister of East African Community Affairs. And allow me, MC and ladies and gentlemen, after that to take the protocols as have been observed by my colleagues. As Afrexim Bank, it's an honor and privilege to partner and organize this Business and Investment Summit with the East African Business Council. Allow me to begin by conveying warm greetings from our President, President and Chairman of the Board of Governors, Directors of Afrexim Bank, Professor Benedict Orama, who is not able to be here with us and who will represent. Special thanks go to the Right Honorable Rebecca Aditwara Kadaga, First Deputy Prime Minister of Uganda and Minister of East African Community Affairs, for joining us today as we engage and foster strategic trade and investment links. Your presence, Madam, is a clear testimony of your unwavering support and commitment to the promotion of trade and investment and the integration of the East African community with the rest of Africa. And to our partners in the collaboration effort, the East African Business Council, led by my namesake and classmates, John Bosco Kalisa, your commitment to the private sector development in Africa and East Africa is commendable. Today's event would not have been possible without your commitment and drive to promoting private sector development. Ladies and gentlemen, our Business and Investment Summit theme today is promoting private sector-driven regional integration for increased intra-African trade and investment. At Afrexim Bank, the promotion of intra-African trade is at the core of our mandate. In 2016, Afrexim Bank took a deliberate decision to prioritize the promotion of intra-African trade under its fifth strategic plan, which we dubbed Impact 2021. In this context, and in the anticipation of the African Content of Free Trade Agreement, Afrexim Bank developed an intra-African trade strategy to facilitate intra-African trade and investments. Under the fifth strategic plan, which expired in 2021, the bank disbursed over $2 billion in support of intra-African trade and investments. Intra-African trade is also given prominence in the bank's sixth strategic plan, which we have dubbed Impact 2026, Extending the Frontiers. Under this plan, the bank is committed to disbursing over $40 billion by 2026 to support intra-African trade. This clearly is a testimony that Afrexim Bank holds intra-African trade at its core. The sixth strategic plan is based on 4 pillars, namely intra-African trade and SFTA implementation, industrialization and export development, leadership in global trade banking in Africa, and financial sustainability. The intra-African trade and SFTA implementation pillar is one of the strategic pillars, as we believe that the agreement provides the impetus and dynamism to the process of economic integration and structural transformation of African economies. The SFTA is a marketplace of 1.4 billion people, and this is probably the largest free trade area created since the WTO. We need to take advantage of this market as the private sector. And according to estimates from the UNECA, intra-African trade in industrial products could increase by $60 billion annually if the implementation of the SFTA is accompanied by robust trade facilitation measures. I think Mr. Karia talked about this. We can exploit and explore this. Now, as a trade and finance bank for Africa, we are committed to supporting efforts towards promoting regional economic integration in line with the bank's mandate and the AU, the African Union's Agenda 2063, which is the Africa we want. Coming closer to East Africa, the EAC, with a population of 300 million people and a combined GDP of over $305 billion. The East Africa and rest of Africa trade has been steadily increasing from 2013 to date, with the trade balance being in favor of the East African community. So you can see your potential. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as Afreximbank would like to position ourselves as the go-to development partner for EAC, rest of Africa export diversification strategies, development of manufacturing, infrastructure, technology and logistics sectors in line with the aspirations of the SFTA. We would like to partner and work with the East African Development Bank and other financial institutions in the EAC to provide the much-needed finance to support trade and investment in the region. The intra-African trade opportunities under the SFTA will help crowd in investments in secondary industries away from Africa's reputation in trading in primary products. Therefore, soaring export manufacturing capacities and capabilities, as well as domestic and content supply chains, will facilitate increased flow of goods and services across borders in Africa and also including the EAC. Ladies and gentlemen, today's investment summit is just one way of the many ways as a bank that will support intra-African trade and investment. The bank has got several products to stimulate the EAC rest of Africa trade. Most of them will be highlighted and discussed in the presentations and the panels that will come on. However, allow me today to highlight some of them in just broad measures. One of them is the support to the industrial parks and export processing centers. Afreximbank is facilitating the emergence and expansion of industrial parks, export processing zones, or special economic zones in several countries. I will highlight a few here. The bank has disbursed over $700 million to facilitate the development of industrial parks in Gabon, Benin, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, and advancing pipeline deals of over $2 billion in Chad, Malawi, Botswana, Kenya, DRC, Zambia, and Nigeria. This is to mention a few. The bank is also facilitating the establishment of the Africa Quality Assurance Centers to provide testing, inspection, certification services that Bosco talked about to ensure exports comply with standards and regulation in export markets. We are advanced in discussions to establish one in Ethiopia and Kenya as well. The third is the Afreximbank Country Africa and Regional Economic Business Councils. And one of those programs, the beneficiaries of one of the programs is the collaboration between the EABC and Africa Business Council, which was launched on the 22nd of July last year and gave birth to our strategic engagement with EAC and forms our basis for collaboration in today's event. So this is one of the ways we also see that we can support intra-African trade. 4 is investment promotion and facilitation. The bank is providing support and investment promotion and facilitation through several initiatives, including organizing investment forums, this one, and developing a methodology for measuring African direct investments. Also, as my friend Karila mentioned about the SFTA Adjustment Fund, it's for the success of the SFTA that Afreximbank is working relentlessly with the SFTA Secretariat to put in place the $10 billion SFTA Adjustment Fund. In this regard, the Afreximbank board has already committed $1 billion as the bank's initial investment and a grant of $10 million for the base fund. The adjustment fund has already been launched. It's based in Kigali, Rwanda. To support investments and in infrastructure development in markets experiencing some challenges, Afreximbank has expanded its risk-bearing instruments and launched a comprehensive guarantee program aimed at facilitating the much-needed investment finance in Africa. So the Afreximbank guarantee program is in place. We also recognize that one of the key constraints to expansion of investments is, especially in infrastructure, is the lack of bankable projects. Afreximbank has therefore launched the Project Preparation Facility, which assists African governments and corporates to prepare projects for banks and for finance. And one very important fact to realize that today's world is based on technology. Afreximbank has launched the African Trade Gateway. This is your gateway into the definitive digital ecosystem made to support Africa's trade. And this includes, to mention a few, the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. The Pan-African Payment and Settlement System was endorsed by the heads of state at the launch of SFTA in Niger in 2019. And we hope the African continent to save about $5 billion, which we lose in terms of transferring funds between ourselves. The successful part has been completed in the WAMS region, and we have 9 central banks as members, 72 commercial banks, 4 national switches and 3 private switches, and we encourage central banks and commercial banks in Africa, in East Africa, to join the PAPs. We also have MANSA. This is a customer due diligence repository, which erases the cost of conducting know your customer checks for African corporates and facilitates intra-African trade. We have several others. We have the TRADA, which is the Trade Information and Regulations Intelligence Gateway. We have the Africa Trade Exchange, which is a digital marketplace and e-commerce platform to support the implementation of the SFTA, and several others. We can get the details of all this in the booth. Now, lastly, we have the Intra-African Trade Fair, which has been implemented in collaboration with the African Union Commission and the SFTA Secretariat. This is a premium marketplace for the promotion of cross-border trade and investments under the SFTA. It's a biannual fair fully funded by the bank and provides the platform to showcase diversity of trade and goods and services. The first 2 fairs convened in Cairo and Durban were very successful. Trade deals of over 75 billion were signed. And we had exhibitors of over 1,100 exhibitors. We invite you all to visit our exhibition stand outside in the area and register for this year's trade fair that's going to take place in Cairo in November. Ladies and gentlemen, let me come back home to East Africa. Allow me to highlight some support that Afreximbank has done in this regard, and I can see the MC approaching. In the last 2.5 years, the bank has disbursed more than $583 million to the government of Uganda. The bank has also availed $50 million to the Ugandan private sector. The bank has also provided support to the construction of the standard gauge railway in Tanzania. The bank has also supported a couple of projects in preparation, Gasmith project in Rwanda. Those just to mention a few. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, in line with today's theme of promoting private sector-driven regional integration for increased intra-African trade, may I encourage everyone to present to use this Business Forum Summit to explore Africa's growth opportunities and harness the promotion of exports and industrialization. I therefore challenge you all not to leave this summit without forging strategic connections, business partnerships and alliances, without which the summit would be meaningless. I therefore call upon all the East African Trade and Investment Authorities, government ministries that are present today to ensure that the interests and deals generated today and tomorrow can smoothly be facilitated and implemented. And Afreximbank is available to do that. Thank you very much, and I welcome you to our booth to be able to get more information on Afreximbank. Thank you very much. I hope I didn't delay.
I studied Senior 1 to Senior 4 at Chambogo College School, and it was a boys' day school. The French language was compulsory, but as you know, French is not a very easy language to learn, especially if you're Anglophone. Now, the school wanted the young boys to learn French, so they got a very beautiful student teacher to teach French. But even that didn't help. But by the time I left that class, at least I had learned a few French words, which I will use in a few seconds. Our next speaker is the Honorable Ambassador Ezekiel Nibinjira, Chair of the East African Community Council of Ministers and Minister for the Ministry of East African Community Affairs, Youth, Sports and Culture, of the Republic of Burundi. Monsieur et bienvenue.
Right Honorable Rebecca Alitwala Kadaga, First Deputy Prime Minister of Uganda and Minister for East African Community Affairs, distinguished organizers, development partners, and participants, everybody in his honorable capacity. Because of time, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. What a wonderful day. A day of 31st August 2023, whereby the great people and the great organizations are gathered together and participating to the East African Business and Investment Summit 2023. I cannot move forward with my speech without starting by extending my heartfelt appreciation to the government and the people of Uganda for the warm welcome we are enjoying so far since we arrived in this beautiful city of Kampala. My heartfelt appreciation goes also to the East African Business Council, to the Private Sector Foundation Uganda, to Uganda Investment Authority, and the East African Community Secretariat, as well as our esteemed partners, including Afrexim Bank, German Development Corporation, RSM East Africa, Madavi Group, Standard Chartered Bank, PAC Capital, Seatini and PwC for orchestrating this exceptional East African Business and Investment Summit in Uganda. You have really offered this golden occasion for East African business world and organizations intervening in this business sector to put their minds together while chewing and digging deeper how to promote trade, investment, and finance opportunities in East African region and in Africa, where we have already embarked in operationalizing the African Continental Free Trade Area. The theme, private sector-driven regional integration for increased intra-African trade and investment, is a great theme which takes into account the current realities of our continent in terms of business and socio-economic development of not only East African countries, but also the African continent as a whole. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I strongly adhere that East Africa is an ideal investment destination in Africa. Just for purposes of reminding you, today, the East African community has reached a total membership of 7 countries. That is Burundi, Kenya, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, South Sudan, Rwanda, Uganda, and the United Republic of Tanzania. In the near future, the community awaits to welcome the 8th member, which is the Republic of Somalia. The total market of the community counts around 310 million population. Once Somalia gets on board, the market will grow to around 330 million population. Your Excellencies, this is a very huge market where the youth constitutes the majority of the total population, and 80% of them are below the age of 35 years. Once this youth is well exploited, they become an opportunity for our countries. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, no government is able to give employment to every citizen. The private sector must intervene to serve this golden category of people. The private sector must be encouraged to create more businesses which help to create more employment. Once the people get jobs, their purchasing power will increase and the businesses will continue to thrive. As a result, socio-economic states of our countries will improve. That is the reason why there is no other way around. We have to face the reality and call the dog by its name. We have already concluded that East Africa is an ideal investment destination in Africa. However, the African Continental Free Trade Area requires that each country has gained capabilities to get what to offer in this market. It has to be a fair market whereby every partner state has products and services not only to offer but also to take. We must be in a win-win business and economic environment. Therefore, to reach this objective, allow me to recommend some solutions that could help to facilitate and increase trade and investments. First, stakeholders, especially partner states, governments, are encouraged to create favorable legal frameworks for businesses that facilitate business expansion across borders and which help to unlock new avenues and markets for our enterprising citizens. Second, governments are encouraged to foster a conducive business environment by providing a robust legal framework that not only streamlines the business landscape but also elevates the quality and efficiency of public service delivery within our EAC countries. Fourth, governments are required to enable free movement of goods and people across borders, as well as enforcing business regulations. I call upon governments to take affirmative action aimed at facilitating business persons, especially the youth, access financing and venture in trade. Governments are required to put into place programs and policies aimed at availing or accessing credit at a reasonable cost and using reasonable procedures. In most countries, taxes on trade are still high. High interest rates on credit or loans are still high. Procedures to get loans are still long. Hidden charges are still the order of the day. Collateral and the guarantor requirements are still unreasonable. The shortage of foreign currencies is still a very big problem. Therefore, the affirmative action of the government will help to boost the intra-continent trade, job and wealth creation, and then socioeconomic development of our respective countries. Every African nation should make every effort to reduce at the maximum non-tariff barriers at borders and within nations and regions to create a conducive environment for business people to trade across borders. To the citizens, and especially the young people, they should understand that governments have no more jobs to offer. They have to create their own jobs and be their own bosses. They should take advantage of every facility they come across and start small businesses, which are the backbone of every nation's economy. Accept to take risks. Of course, take calculated risks. Never get worried and be risk tolerant. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to conclude by reaffirming the commitment of the EAC Council of Ministers, especially emphasizing our unwavering dedication to fostering private sector-led regional integration. Our overarching objective is to enhance the prosperity of the East African populace and cultivate sustainable economic growth across our region and our continent. Thank you all for your kind attention.
Honorable, you will come back in a few to invite the chief guest after Lady Annette Semwemba has spoken.
Right Honorable Rebecca Alitwala Kadaga, First Deputy Prime Minister of Uganda and Minister for East African Community Affairs, Honorable Ambassador Ezekiel Nibigira, Chair of the EAC Council of Ministers, executives, captains of industry, distinguished delegates, all protocols observed. On behalf of the Secretary General and on my behalf, I welcome you to this East African Business and Investment Summit, and thank you for sparing the time to be here for the very important discussions that we will have over the next 2 days. It's our pleasure as the Secretariat for the EAC to collaborate with the EABC in organizing this very important dialogue, and it is incumbent upon us. I think it is our responsibility to join the private sector to ensure that platforms such as this one take place. I would like to introduce colleagues from the Secretariat who have joined me. I had wished to enumerate a number of policies, programs that have been developed by the community, but in the interest of time, I will not do so. But I introduce colleagues that have joined me. Please do stand up for recognition so that you can reach out to them and that they share the information that is available from the ESC Secretariat. I also recognize the presence of the former Director General for Customs and Trade, Mr. Kenneth Bagamhunda, who's an expert in this field. Ladies and gentlemen, the treaty for the establishment of the ESC envisages an ESC integration process that is people-centered and market-driven. And this is the first principle that underpins the objectives of the community. The treaty also provides for a mechanism for dialogue, and this is one of those dialogue sessions that are being convened within the spirit of the treaty. As the ESC Secretariat, our responsibility is to listen. And we are here over the 2 days to listen, to understand, to take away the key issues that will come through from this dialogue, to ensure that those issues turn into policy, turn into programs, turn into projects that will benefit the private sector. That is our core responsibility. Later, in the course of this morning, together with EABC, we will also make a commitment towards ensuring implementation of the decisions that will be agreed. Ladies and gentlemen, as we heard earlier, we are not short on plans. We are not short on strategies. We are not short on policies. We are short on implementation. We take this commitment to follow up on the key issues that will arise, to ensure that we are accountable back to you as the private sector, that we together try to devise solutions, try to devise policies that will benefit the private sector in general. I had also an enumeration of the key challenges, but we've heard from previous speakers what these challenges are. I will not go through them again. We understand them well. We are working very, very hard to ensure that these challenges continue to be addressed in a timely manner. I don't want to spend so much time because I know that you're all very eager to hear from our chief guest. We are here over the course of the 2 days. We pledge our commitment, we pledge our expertise to be able to support the private sector in understanding, in the synthesis of all of these issues, in taking forward this dialogue. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I hand back to you.
Honourable Minister, I would like to ask you to come and invite our chief guest to speak to us, if you don't mind.
MC, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to stand here and welcome our chief guest today. I am honored to welcome Right Honorable Kadaga Aditwala, Vice Prime Minister. Most of the times I am used to call her Mama. And she is truly. She is. In our Council of Ministers, she is our mama, our elder. So, Right Honorable, you are most welcome. We are keen to hear from you. You are most welcome.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Ibagira, Chair of the Council of Ministers. I'm delighted to see the board and management of the East African Business Council, the captains of industry. I'm delighted to welcome Annette Semuimba, I think on her first mission since she took office 1 month ago. Welcome back and welcome to the community. Good morning. Habari za asubuhi. Bonjour. I want to welcome you to Uganda, to the land of the source of the Nile, the land of the equator, the land of the Rift Valley, the land of the smiling people. The Ugandans are always smiling. They're going to find that out. I'm happy to see my good son, Mr. Kasumba. He always spices up everything that he does. Thank you, Samson. I want to thank the East Africa Business Council for bringing together the people who create employment, who pay the taxes, who support the common market of the East African community. The theme today is private sector-driven regional integration for increasing African trade and investment. This underscores the vital role of the private sector in driving economic growth and fostering deeper regional ties. The success of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area that all our states ratified and commenced trading through lies on active participation and collaboration from both the public and private sectors. By creating an enabling business environment, we pave the way for increased trade, investment, and prosperity across our borders. Therefore, this summit, the second summit, is the premier EAC Economic Forum, where East Africa will chart a common agenda to take trade to higher levels. However, I heard Mr. Kalisa celebrate the 24% intra-regional trade. It's not a good story at all, especially when we know that these same countries trade at 80% level with European Union and others who are far away. But we who are here, we don't want to trade with one another. I'm happy to see my friend, the PS for the Kenya Ministry of East Africa. We are constantly battling over milk. You're constantly battling over milk and other products. And I find it difficult to understand why you say that I can export milk to you for 3 months. Then when you think that you have a lot of milk, you say, stop now. You just like, you switch on an industry and switch it off. You know, I keep telling them that the value chain is disrupted. The farmers, the packaging industry, the retailers, all these are affected by those abrupt disruptions. So I want to appeal to our colleagues to really comply with the agreements made in the common market. I don't know whether these are here. Are there from South Sudan here? Are they here? Yeah. South Sudan? Yeah, here. I have an issue with you and your government. Yes. Because for the last almost 5 months, they have impounded our maize. 5 months. First in the forest, then it was brought to the border, in a customs warehouse. They closed our customs warehouse and went with the keys to Juba. Can you imagine the impunity? The Sudanese locking a store on Uganda side and going out with the keys. And this is integration. And I don't know why they have not completed their integration into the customs union. That is still outstanding on the side of South Sudan. So if we are talking about integration, it has to be properly focused and committed to what we are doing. I don't want to continue to talk about COVID-19. It has gone. The war in Ukraine, yes. I think we need just to focus on the future. I'm glad to hear that the East African partner states have experienced positive growth. from 1.5% to 11% the first 2 years. So let us improve on that. We are here to discuss and emphasize the importance of public-private dialogue in shaping a conducive business environment that ultimately leads to prosperity to our region. The Business Council and the Secretariat, working together with esteemed partners such as the African Bank, who we have had here, GIZ, who support us, the regional private sector companies that have supported the organization of business this summit, highlights the significance of uniting our efforts to the greater good of East Africa. This private-public dialogue is a peaceful mechanism to address challenges, identify opportunities, and co-create policies that benefit all stakeholders. So this platform is invaluable for the stakeholders from the government and private sector to converge and discuss ways to enhance our economic landscape. I want to reaffirm our government's commitment to promoting private-public dialogue as a key driver of economic growth. We firmly believe that the partnership, combined with sound policies and effective regulations, will create a conducive and competitive business environment. We have heard a lot about the African Continental Free Trade Area. But why is it that only 44 of the countries have ratified? What are the others doing? Are they really committed? Why is it that there is very little trade under the African Continental Free Trade Areas? Why are negotiations not complete? Where is the commitment? I think we have a duty to the people of this region to ensure that we fulfill the obligations under the African Continental Free Trade Area so that our people can benefit from that framework. We need to ensure the removal of non-tariff barriers, which in turn finish our obligation. Stimulating the economic growth beyond our natural resource sectors, BS is implementing an industrialization policy that focuses on diversification of the manufacturing sector, higher value addition, small and medium enterprises, promotion. We expect to see the manufacturing sector rise from 25% of GDP by 2032. But I don't know why I keep on wanting to rise to only small figures. Why do we talk about 50%? We are talking about 25% in 2032. Why do we measure ourselves by very small steps? But of course that will be better than the present 8.9%. Therefore this will require hard work. It requires a favorable business environment and a consistent legal and regulatory framework, among other factors. Honourable Minister, Chair of the Council, the number of issues that have been mentioned here, including the East African Court of Justice, the time frame it works, the numbers, these are things we need to urgently address and should not continue lamenting because the powers are in our hands. There are many areas of the treaty that require amendment. For instance, many of the rules and regulations were made when we were still 3 countries, but now we are 7, soon to be 8. So I think we should be moving faster to ensure that as we integrate, we improve and increase the collaboration through a legal framework. I therefore the private sector members to make good use of the time here and network as well as take time to visit the facilities around. I hope that you have created a day or two to visit the source of the Nile, to visit the Uganda Matters Memorial here and at Namugongo, and if possible, you go to other places in Uganda. I wish you fruitful deliberations for these 2 days, and I hope the summit will be a success. I want to reaffirm our commitment to building a stronger, more integrated and prosperous East African community. So I want to thank you very much and invite you to examine the Pearl of Africa, visit the Bwindi Independent Forest, trek the mountain gorillas, go to Murchison Falls, the Sipi Falls, the Rosary Mountains, where you find snow, and meet our people who are always smiling, as I've already told you. Thank you very much, and I declare this meeting open.
Mama webalino wekaza ino Unlike many countries where the citizens of those countries speak about their countries as being beautiful, it is other people who speak about ours. So when we say Uganda is beautiful, that's not a statement that comes from us. It is a statement of other people who have come here, seen what we know, and then told the rest of the world. So you want to visit this country as you have been asked to do so. We've known for some time that people who have been on antidepressants in their countries have been asked by their therapists and doctors to come to Uganda, and when they went back, they were well. So if you have had to use either antidepressants or visit a therapist, or you know somebody who is in that situation, ask them to come here, go to Maction Falls, go to Queen Elizabeth. They will be off treatment for some time. That is how beautiful Uganda is. I was told this by a therapist in the US who recommended one of their clients to visit here, and they told me the client has been doing very well after that. Mama, there is a bit of work to do here between yourself, Lady Annette Ntawe Semwemba, and the Vice Chair EABC, and that will be to launch the technical working group. There is a book that is going to be brought, and then that is what you will launch. Then there will be giving of a few certificates, and then that will be that. So we will ask someone to bring that for us as we step forward. I hope the people responsible for the launch will be ready with that, and we will make for a very good morning. So if you're ready, are you ready, sir? Okay. Okay, is that you being very fast? Good. So we will be launching the East African Business Council Technical Working Group, and this is the demo. You want to show the demo there? Fantastic. You will get yourselves copies, and you'll want to hand it over to the persons here, who will hand it over to Mama, and then we will have a launch. Those of you whose jobs is to take photographs, come, let us work together. If you have a camera that has a phone, you can use it. Sorry, a phone that has a camera. Okay. Even if your camera has no film, at least use the flash. Or the film's left. I think I'm very old. There used to be a time when cameras had films. People take pictures, go to Nairobi to develop them, and then come back to tell you the pictures died. We are taking them again. And it was a wedding. So there are people here who have never seen their wedding pictures because the pictures died. It sounded very nice in local language, Erifananyilia Food Day. A friend of mine called his friends to watch the video of his wedding, and the tape had a film of Chuck Norris.
Allow the deputy SG to some remarks.
Were there a few remarks from the deputy over the, yes.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremonies. What we just launched is an initiative that is going to be coordinated by the Secretariat for the ESC, EABC, and the public sector. This initiative existed before, but the public sector was not included as part of that dialogue. We are relaunching so that we can review policy proposals that have been submitted, and through this working group, propose solutions and carry forward the implementation. So that's the purpose of the launch. I will be spearheading the discussions and the dialogue. We will be accountable. We will meet frequently, and we will submit back to you the recommendations that have been proposed, as well as the implementation. So that's what we've launched with the Right Honourable First Deputy Prime Minister, together with the Vice Chairperson and the Chair of the Council of Ministers. Thank you very much.
For those of you who enjoy that side of life, I'm told, I don't know, but I've been told by people who visit here, that there's a very beautiful gene that is also known as the spirit of Uganda. It looks like water in a glass, but it has a very different feeling. So when I see people drinking from glasses that should be consuming that particular spirit of Uganda, it reminded me to remind you that there is an evening cocktail and you can try that out. But for now, Mama, we want to give off a few freebies here. Not really freebies, but statements of recognitions to our sponsors, beginning with Afrexim Bank, who have contributed to making us who we are. So we'll ask those from Afrexim Bank to come and receive this one. And we'll ask the people here to let them, anyone from Afrexim Bank, please? Yes, please come and receive this one. We thank you so much. For that check was not small by any means. No, you can use this place. I do not want to imagine what would happen should that step not behave the way we want. After Afrexim Bank, we will have GIZ will be next in line. Some say in the firing line, this is in the receiving line. After GIZ, Germans Development Corporation, next will be RSM East Africa. RSM East Africa is next. Life is very interesting. You give a check, you get a certificate. Of recognition. Next will be the Madvani Group. Somebody from Madvani Group, and they still remember? Again, quite a number. Thank you. Remember to take that group photograph. Your auditors will need it. It's called accountability and transparency. And finally, but by no means least, the Standard Chartered Bank. When I was a young boy at Nakasero Primary School, I cannot remember how many times I went playing in the lift of Standard Chartered Bank.
The only building with the lift.
Because it used to be the only building with a working lift at that time.
Yes.
At least in Kampala. I really, really enjoyed that lift.
Very well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's an honor. Thank you, Gary. Thank you.
So finally, I'll ask the persons who are not here but spoke here this morning to join up, and then we have a group photograph. Those who spoke in the morning, who have spoken so far, please join up, and we have a group photograph. And as that happens, there will be also one for the chief guest. So find some space somewhere if you spoke this morning to join in the group photograph.
We have one EABC director.
After that one, the last one will be with the EABC directors. You will be next after this one. EACB directors, please come and join in right after this one. The directors, please. Thank you. The only time I've ever been a director is when my wife appointed me as the director of the dishwashing committee at home. So I'm also a director in a sense. And I take that responsibility very seriously. So you know who runs the home, right?
You guys have what is the picture?
Mom, after receiving the one for this particular one, the last one, we will encourage us to visit the exhibition place on your way out. Hand this one to Mama. We will ask John Bosco to officially launched. All right. Hand that over.
Samson, will you explain?
Sorry?
Will you explain this?
Yes, I will.
Yeah, please do.
That particular one is one used African material to make a picture of a very important person in this region. Do you want to guess who that is? That's the President of the Republic of Uganda. A very wise old man with a heart. And a heart. Or is it a heart on top of his heart? Fantastic. Mama, we will ask you to come here and declare that this working group launched.
We have been talking about the future and where we want to be. So I'm happy to launch the technical working group, which is going to assist us in moving forward. However, I just wanted to comment that when I saw the lineup there, to a short of women, I think we need to do something to improve participation of women in the business. I don't know whether they don't have the capital to do the businesses, but you could see that the men were many. So we need to do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you. We open this one.
You can tell that the first Deputy Prime Minister doesn't live around gunshots. Mom, it's certainly been a pleasure having you for this morning. We would encourage that on your way out, you visit the exhibition and working and persons to see how that is going. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll stand up as the official has to happen for the anthems as Mama leaves. In reverse order, beginning with the East African anthem.
Mungu twaomba uenende Jumuiya Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuwajibike, tuimarike, umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu. I'm not a very good musician, but I try. Life is about trying, isn't it?
Thank you.
We will have a very brief coffee if you need it, and then we will be ready for our first panel of the morning. There will be two, and we will see that. So if you have to, please have the coffee. I think 15 minutes will do, coffee and then bathroom break, and then we will have our very first panel for the morning. Let's keep that coffee very brief. DJ, please give me a bit of sound, background sound. We had some music, coffee inspiring music, and then we'll begin with our first panel. My watch says 12, so I want us to be here by 12:10 or 12:15.
Smart 24